I know we were supposed to begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but there were some technical delays getting on the Zoom call, and one of our contestants just decided not to show up. So today we have 2 contestants instead of 3, and we're switching up the rules a little bit. So that we can determine the winner of week 3 as we move into next week's All-Star Battle Royale for the title of Top Tour Guide in New York City. Now, the way the game works is each of our contestants will be presented with slides of different monuments, objects, people, and events that happen in New York City, and they will be given 2 minutes to give their best spiel about the item presented. Now, hopefully the spiel is true, but like sometimes what happens when you're out there giving a tour to tourists and someone asks, hey, what's that? It might be a little bit fabricated. Our contestants will be judged on the following criteria. Number 1, for 2 points, style and tone. How well they tell the story. Number 2, for 2 points as well, clarity. Is the story clear and concise? Benchmark number 3 is engagement. Are they enthusiastic about the subject? How engaging are they to watch? Also for 2 points. Point number 4 is believability. Did you believe the story was true or not? Again, it doesn't have to be, but if they're able to pass off a fabricated story as true, they can get some extra points for that. And finally, because when you are out on the streets of New York City, sometimes there are some unexpected things that may happen. People, perhaps a screaming baby, perhaps a crazy person, perhaps a car going by making lots of noise. Thanks to our very special sound effects person, AJ, each of our guides will be given a special distraction during their spiel, and they'll have to recover from it, and they will be judged up to 2 points for how well they recovered to that distraction as well. For a total of 10 points, each of our guides will be judged by our 3 fantastic judges, and because we only have 2 contestants today, they each will be competing in both rounds. Today's winner will be determined from having the highest combined score. Now, before we jump in, I want to go ahead and introduce our judges for the week. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Judge Julie. Say hi, Julie.
What's up, fam?
Next up is an OG legend from Experience First, Mr. Judge Tom Simonetti. Say hi to everybody, Judge Tom.
Square!
Yeah. And last, but certainly not least, is Miss Judge Dara.
Hey everybody, super excited to see all of your faces. Love it. Thank you for playing. Let's do this.
And thank you for being here. Now, of course, before we jump in, I also have to introduce our wonderful contestants for the week. So first up, I believe, is going to be contestant Jason. Jason, say hi to the group and just tell us something fun about yourself.
How's it going, guys? So my name is Jason. Something fun about me. I haven't traveled that much, but I went abroad to Spain one time. And one time I climbed a mountain in flip-flops because there was a little bit of something lost in translation because my friend and my second language is Spanish and everyone in Valencia speaks Valenciano. So I ended up thinking it was an easy hike, and I just wore some flip-flops because I was too lazy, and I climbed the entire thing with flip-flops. Don't ever tell my mom.
Don't worry. You're safe with us. And our next contestant for the week is another OG in Experience First Land. Please welcome Missy. Say hi, Missy.
Hi. Hi, everyone. What?
Say hi and tell us something fun about yourself.
Hi. So I'm here in sunny Florida, and yeah, I'm gonna build on Jason's flip-flop story because I have something very similar. I decided to wear flip-flops to the Acropolis, and yeah, that old stone is slippery, and I ate it all the way down the steps of the Acropolis. So the lesson that you've learned here today from 2 experienced tour guides who did not listen to everything that's on the Experience First website, wear sensible shoes when you're touring.
Exactly. Please wear sensible shoes when you are touring. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to jump into round one. Now, like I said, each contestant is going to get 2 minutes to speak about their respective slide. And then after each contestant goes, each of our judges is going to get the opportunity to ask them questions about the monument, person, place, or event presented. Now, our theme for round one today is very exciting. It is going to be New York City transportation. Okay, so contestants, get that in your head. New York City transportation. Now, I encourage you to tell us anything you know about the mode of transportation presented. And if you happen to have any anecdotes about a time that you've used that transportation, we encourage you to share them with the group, especially if any of those anecdotes happen while you happen to be giving a tour in New York City. So Jason, you are up first. Are you ready to view your slide?
Ready as always.
Okay, so you'll get a moment to look at the slide, take it in. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock and then you'll begin. So just to take a look, here we go. And Jason, there's your slide. Now, can you see it, digesting it, understand it?
Yep.
Mode of transportation, fantastic. All right, I've got 2 minutes on the clock. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jason, go ahead and begin.
All right, so of course, what we're looking at right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the trademark yellow taxi of New York City. Now, some cities don't necessarily use yellow taxis, and that's because New York City actually copyrighted the branding of having their taxis being yellow so that no other city could do that. They knew that yellow would stand out against all the gray and grime of New York City. And so in order for people to find taxis, especially at night, because we have so much nightlife here, they wanted to make sure these taxis could be found, and they made them bright yellow so that they could be found at any time, any day in New York City. And so, of course, other cities like Philadelphia, they use like green because, they couldn't use yellow. I've personally only been in a taxi like 1 or 2 times because it was raining and I didn't want to get my phone wet while ordering an Uber. But the time that I did, it was like me and a couple other people. I sat in the front seat, had a really nice conversation with the cab driver, and then didn't realize that he had gone around an extra block and they added an extra $5 to the cab fee. So I wouldn't recommend actually taking one. Oh, that's there's some taxis yelling at me right now, I guess, because I'm talking a little bit of smack about them. I'm not endorsed one way or the other by Uber, Lyft, or taxis, but I'm just going off personal experience and saying that, if you can find the most affordable option, that's going to be your best option for getting around the city. If you must take a car, I would highly recommend taking the train or exploring a wonderful city on foot. I thought that the honks there might have been my time for the story. But I'll just leave things at that before I get in any more trouble with the taxi companies.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jason. You went a little bit under, but that's fantastic. You didn't go over. All right.
Excellent.
So judges, you're going to get an opportunity to ask them a question about the slide presented. So Julie, you are up first.
So good job, first of all. I learned a lot. I didn't know about the yellow cab thing being trademarked.
Thank you.
How do I avoid getting scammed by these drivers or even picked up? Because I tried taking a cab over here and now I can't get one.
That is a great question. I've heard a lot of people having trouble with getting a taxi and avoiding the scams. The best thing I can say is that you really can't avoid being scammed by the taxis because they're just a terrible company and they will, in typical New York fashion, try to rob tourists of every dime that they have. So I would highly recommend just avoiding them at all costs if possible.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jason. All right, next up, Tom, what do you have for contestant number 1?
Well, fantastic job, I will say. So much fun, and I learned so much. Now, here's a question for you. I know that when you want to be a cab driver, why not you come up to my place? That's from On the Town. It's a musical from 1942. Anyways, I starred in it. But it's about 3 sailors. Anywho, what the whole thing is though, you have to have a medallion is what you have, right? So you have to have a right to do that. The medallion supposedly is $1 million. Is that true or false?
It's actually not quite $1 million, but it is 100,000. So I can see where you got that figure from. It's changed over the years due to inflation. It actually started at 1,000 when the taxis were invented in 1974. And then it's slowly kind of crept up to, it went to 10 grand, then it went to 200. Then they said that's way too much. Let's take it back down to 100 grand because they face a lot of pressure from the unions and rival companies as well. So that's why we landed on that figure of 100 grand for the taxi medallion.
Very
Great question.
Thank you.
Anytime.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Miss Dara.
Hey, that was awesome. I also learned a lot. But my most pressing question for you is, how have you only been in a cab twice? Did I actually hear that right? How long have you lived in New York? Please explain yourself.
So that's a great question. I've only lived in New York for about 5 years now, and I live in the borough of Brooklyn. So out in Brooklyn, there's not too many like taxis of any color out there. There's a couple people who like drive their taxis to their homes and things like that. But whenever I need to go into the city, the best thing that I do is I take the train, and that'll take me close enough to wherever I need to go so that I don't really need to usually travel too much around Manhattan. And if I do, it's usually along a train line. So that's a great question. I mean, I'm assuming if I lived in Manhattan, I would probably be taking a taxi a lot more because when you're out in Manhattan, especially if it's late at night, you just don't feel like waiting for the train. So a lot of people do take taxis to get around within Manhattan, but especially from Manhattan to Brooklyn, that is super expensive, even with an Uber or Lyft or anything. So that's why I typically take the train.
Cool. Thank you. I just found that surprising because when I moved to New York, it's like a badge of honor, like taking the cab, hailing it down is such a thing. And now, of course, with Uber and Lyft and exactly what you said, you're totally right. It's crazy expensive.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So actually, there's some technical difficulties up here in the chat box, but one of our judges actually has an additional question. So Tom, go ahead.
So I was above 90th Street the other day. Don't tell anyone because a lady should never be above East 90th. And I saw... And I saw a green cab running around picking people up. Is that allowed? What are they doing up there? Or why is it green?
That is an excellent question. And to be honest with you, it is allowed. It's a different taxi company that comes from Queens. And everything that comes out of Queens is terrible. So I would highly recommend avoiding that taxi cab. I apologize to anyone who's actually from Queens. As a Brooklyn resident, I'm obligated by law to make that joke. So but yeah, it's just a different company.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jason. I think we have some differing opinions from our judging panel and maybe our other contestant about attitudes regarding Queens. I think a couple of them may currently or formerly live there, but we'll ignore that for now. Now, Missy, you are next up on the block. Are you ready for your slide?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Ready as ever be. Now, again, folks watching, we just had New York City Taxi as our first one. The theme for this round is New York City modes of transportation. So Missy, here is your slide. Now take a look, digest it, and I will go ahead and I will put 2 minutes on the clock, and whenever you're ready, you can begin. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so this is a photo of the New York City subway. Now, one thing that I've learned from new visitors to New York City is they're very intimidated by the subway. And I just always encourage people to just go for it. If you have a great sense of direction, then you're fine. You just have to know if you're going uptown or downtown, east or west. So the New York City subway line, to give you a little history, is one of the oldest in the world. It's also the largest rapid transit. There's over 200 miles of subway line in New York City. And really, you just need to know the color and the number of where you're going. New Yorkers, contrary to what a lot of people think, are very helpful in trying to help newcomers on the subway. This particular subway stop has a lot of personal meaning to me. It is the Bowling Green stop. If you're not familiar with New York City, that is one of the most southern stops in Manhattan. And I was giving a tour once. It was the 9-hour tour, which no longer happens. And we were at about hour 3. I think we'd just come from lunch at Grand Central. And we were on the subway. There were only 2 guests, and I had 2 tour guides shadowing me. And we didn't have any interactions with anyone on the subway. Now, this particular subway, the subway is also very loud, little known fact. We'll just let this one pass as we're going. I am going to let you know that at this particular stop, you have to go down to go up again, to cross under the other train going uptown. So we were going down the stairs, and all of a sudden I was soaking wet. Someone, for some unknown reason, just decided to drop a fruit smoothie on my head. And it's a moment that I will remember forever.
All right. Well, thank you, Missy. Now, you did mention that 2 tour guides were with you that day. I would like to let all of the guests know that that story is absolutely true, because I was one of the guides training with her as it happened. And that green monster drink went not only all over Missy's beautiful blonde hair, but her coach bag. And she had to then spend the next, I think, 4 or 5 hours with said smoothie on her hair and bag while we finished the tour. So thank you, Missy.
No problem.
For the team and sharing that story with the group. Now I want to go ahead and let our judges ask you some questions about this slide. So we're going to start with someone you know very well, and you've probably known longer than anyone else on this chat. So go ahead, Mr. Tom.
All right, so I love the subway, just like Missy said. It's what I sometimes take all the time when I'm not taking cabs everywhere. I'll once in a while go on under and go on an adventure. Now, I always tell my guests that the way to have a great sense of direction in New York is by singing the song from, again, On the Town. The song is called New York. It's called New York, New York, a hell of a town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. That's how I figure it out. That's what I used to say all the time as a skinny 16-year-old coming in from Connecticut. That's where I'm from. And that's how I would figure out how to do things. And I never got beat up once. Can you imagine? Anyways, great job, by the way. And I do remember hearing that story and just being smacked by it. With the story, can you tell me, like, at the end, like, what was the weather like on that day? As well, how much longer did you have to, like, sit in all of that? Like, were you able to change clothes or anything?
No, I did not have a change of clothes with me. It was the second week in November. Yes, and we were just about to do the Staten Island ferry part of the tour, so outside. And it was a cold day in November. So by the time I got home, the fruit smoothie had frozen in my hair. And so I had to rinse it out with hot water before I can even attempt to shampoo it, because I couldn't get a brush through it. It was literally like frozen in chunks in my hair. And I had a white, like, winter vest on, white. And so I had drips of green coming down the white vest, and I must have looked like a mad woman giving these people a tour, because my hair was like, had dried up chunks in it, and I was covered in green slime.
Thank you for that. And I do, like I said, I do remember that story, like, you can't believe. Also, the Staten Island Ferry, the best and only way to see, I feel, the Statue of Liberty when you don't have a lot of time. But don't stay too long on Staten Island.
Well, thank you, Tom. All right, next up, Miss Dara. What question do you have for contestant Missy?
Hi, Missy. I'm so glad to hear that story from your mouth, because I've heard it a few times, and it's, yeah. My question is, how bad did you want to quit in that moment? Just say, peace.
Sam, who was also shadowing, called the office and was like, what should we do? And they were like, she can go if she wants. And honestly, the 2 people, it was, especially at that time, the 9-hour tour didn't get a lot of traction. So it was a mother and daughter. They were from Australia. They were the sweetest people. The mother was ready to, like, throw it down, like, after Bobby ran after the woman. So honestly, they really made it enjoyable, and they were fine. And No, I actually never thought about quitting, surprisingly. There were other things that, other interactions, but that one, it was just so ridiculous. It was laughable.
Yeah, it really sounded ridiculous. And I've been put in some situations on tour that have made me almost leave. And I think that would have been one of them. So kudos for rocking that out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Dara. And last but certainly not least, Miss Julie.
Thanks, Bobby. And hey, Missy.
Hi.
I too have heard many times. It was great to hear from you as well. Do you have a favorite subway station, or is it Bowling Green because it's forever ingrained in your memory as the time you guys yourself?
I don't think it's my favorite. It's definitely my my most memorable. It seems kind of silly, but my favorite is, and there's no reason for this, but it's the 50th Street stop on the Red Line. I think it's partly because I think it was probably one of the first that I ever went on when I was visiting New York. And you come up and you see the Winter Garden Theater, and it's just, and like you see Times Square in the distance. And there was always a woman who stood down there who would let people know if the train was coming or not. I don't know if any of you have ever encountered her, but she'd be like, train's coming, hurry up. Or if she could see people coming down the stairs, she'd be like, just left, don't rush, don't hurt yourself. And it was just the sweetest thing. And when I was working in a restaurant, I sometimes would take my meal that I got for free and I would give it to her because I was like, I have enough food. So I would feed her sometimes. But yeah, she was always letting people know if they had to rush down the stairs or not. And yeah, so that's my favorite. The 50th on the, gosh, I haven't been in New York in so long. What is it? The one or the 9?
There's no 9 train anymore, sadly.
I'm so old.
Only the 1 train.
When I moved to New York, you had to use tokens.
No. Well, thank you, Julie. Now, judges, I need you to go ahead and put your scores for our first 2 contestants for round 1. Now, Jason, I realize that you're probably sitting there like, you guys may have thrown that to Missy in round 1. You might have said something. So I gave you a taxi because I know that you have an interesting story that doesn't relate to New York City, but does relate to getting in a car. Do you know where I'm going with this, or am I just crazy? I feel like you told it to me at a company get-together, but I may have been intoxicated. So
I'm sure that I have many stories about getting into a car, but I don't remember which one.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if you think of it, I urge you to share it. But judges, how are you guys going with the scores? Dara's good, Julie's good, Tom is still tabulating. We can't hear him, so.
Did I do it on the right one? Somebody look really quick. Did I do the right column? I don't do math.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Do you see where I'm typing right now on the spreadsheet?
Typing, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So follow that cursor. This is where you score.
That's
Is
right.
that good?
That's
Okay,
right.
I'm just
sure Jason has a 10, right?
That's right.
I'm just consolidating the ones over to the left. So once we're done with this round, we're just going to clear these out and do them again. So just
cool.
there. So I'm good. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm all set to go.
Fantastic.
Julie?
Yeah.
Right.
We're good? All right, well, so ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna move to round 2 and we're gonna switch things up. So instead of going first, Jason, you will go last. And Missy, you're going up right again. Are you ready?
Sure.
Sure, okay. So round 2 is a little bit different. Round 1, we did modes of transportation. Round 2, given that today is May 31st? Yeah, May 31st, and tomorrow begins June. Because of everything that's going on in the world with the COVID-19 quarantine, it's going to be a very sad June in New York City, unfortunately. This is when a lot of very big events happen across the city. We welcome in the summer New Yorkers who do not run away to places like the Hamptons or up to Connecticut, where Mr. Simonetti lives. They do try to make the best of the heat and the humidity and go outside and have lots of fun on the streets of New York. Now, sadly, those events aren't happening this year, but they will be happening in round 2. So these are summer events that happen in June in New York City. Now, I will be showing a picture of the event, and I will be telling you where in the city it takes place. I will not tell you what the event is. Again, you guys have to give the spiel, but I will let you know what area of the city this famous June event takes place. So Missy, are you ready?
Oh gosh.
Look it, but here we go.
I was such a homebody. Okay.
All right, so this event takes place every summer in Central Park. All right, so I'm gonna put 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
I am ready.
And here we go.
Okay, so this event is in my opinion, one of the most popular events in the summer. This is Shakespeare in the Park. It is hosted by the Public Theater, and it takes place at the Delacorte Theater, right in the middle of Central Park. And it is free, but you just have to give your time. But time we all have, correct? And you really get to see some amazing performances for free. You get to see celebrities, people who you would normally pay $400 a pop to see. And yes, it is called Shakespeare in the Park, but they do other things. They don't just do Shakespeare, although we should all be willing to support classic theater. Central Park is one of my favorite places in the city, and the Delacorte Theater is just one of the many things you can see in Central Park. A day could include waking up, getting yourself a good New York coffee and bagel at a local deli, and walking through the park, having a seat in Sheep's Meadow. And you can enjoy the street performers as well, like these gentlemen right here. They are just one of the many colors of New York City and of Central Park that you get to enjoy for free. So whether it's a performance by Shakespeare in the Park or a performance by a street artist, we have so much to offer. And you can certainly do a run around the lake and then end your day sitting on the steps having a hot dog and a pretzel at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So definitely take advantage of beautiful Central Park, but you do have to get there early to get your tickets for Shakespeare in the Park.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Missy. All right. So, judges, get your questions ready. We're going to start this time with Miss Dara. So,
hey, Missy.
Hi.
I sadly have not gone to that. And I know you were saying get your tickets early. Is there like standby? Can you go the day of, or are you just totally screwed? Or is there a place in the park where you can enjoy it like outside of the seating venue itself?
So I'll give you a little hint, or I'll tell you a little secret. I've actually never gone either. Yes, I know. It's one of those things that you always say you're going to do every summer, and then you don't. So you can, I believe you can go the day of, but my best suggestion would be to check the Public Theater's website, because I would hate to give any misinformation and steer you the wrong way.
Cool. Thank you. I am going to make it a point when that returns eventually. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dara. All right, next up, Mr. Simonetti.
Oh, to be or not to be is the question. But I have a lot of I love Shakespeare in the Park. I've done Shakespeare in the Park, which I've been very lucky. The cool thing about Shakespeare in the Park is you do get to see big stars from Anne Hathaway to Al Pacino to, it's kind of amazing what you can see there. The question that Dara had, so that you know, you do stand in line in the park starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, depending on who's starring in it or how big of a hit the show is. You got to get there even earlier than that. Sometimes they let you go up along the west side. It's cool because there's a theater there. The theater is actually, it can be taken apart at any time as well. My question though for Missy is, There's a beautiful castle behind there, or it looks like a castle. What's that castle called? Anything about that? Or is that part of the set?
It is not part of the set. It does have a name, and it is on the tip of my tongue. But unfortunately, I did not brush up on the name since I haven't done this tour in 6.5 years. So I do apologize for that. And that will be something that I add for my next tour.
It's named after a vodka. It's not really, but there's a Belvedere vodka. It's the
Okay.
You got it.
All I could think of was Bethesda, and I was like, I know that's not it. That's the fountain.
Over more into the park. Good job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. And last but certainly not least, Miss Julie.
Hey again, Misty. So I've never been to Shakespeare in the Park either. It's not really my thing. But maybe, if you agree, maybe Dara and you and me could go sometime. What do you think about that?
I think that's perfect.
Oh my gosh.
I will bring the coffee for the 8 a.m. meetup.
And Andrew, we're going to get it on the company card. Just kidding. Don't kill me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that question. Awesome. Well, I have been to Shakespeare in the Park several times. I've been lucky to see some awesome productions there, including Into the Woods, which starred Donna Murphy and Amy Adams, which was brilliantly, disturbingly fantastic in so many different ways. All right, so Jason, events that happen in the summer, but most specifically June. I'm throwing you a bone here because yours happens in your borough. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, June events, here we go. And Jason's slide is this. Now, in particular, this doesn't just happen in Brooklyn, it happens at Coney Island. Take a look, collect your thoughts, and let me know when I can start the timer.
Oh man, Tom, Bobby, as an actor, I wish that you would give me Shakespeare in the Park.
All right,
But,
you know
okay.
what? Because we're missing a competitor, would you like to see a different slide instead?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to make it up regardless. But
all right. Well, you know what? Because we are missing a competitor today, I am going to go ahead and throw you a little bit of a bone and give you this one. Now, this one was going to be the tiebreaker, but again, there's two of you, and we are collecting from both rounds, so I doubt we're going to use it today. So, Jason, you now get this slide. Now, this one happens in New York City's Greenwich Village. It has officially canceled this year. Is this one a little bit more keen for you?
Yes, I know more about this one.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I have 2 minutes on the clock. Let me know when I begin.
Okay. I'm ready. I know this.
Fantastic. And here we go.
All right. So this, of course, is the famous Gay Pride Parade, which I believe it might have started actually here in New York City with the Stonewall Riots in the early 1900s, in which there was this bar where a lot of people would meet relatively in secret because back in the day there was a lot of laws against homosexuality, and so people had to meet and date and mingle in places kind of like the speakeasies and things like that. And so the Gay Pride Parade draws in, I believe, millions of people every year. I'm not really sure about the exact numbers, but pretty much every single friend I've ever had in theater has marched in a Pride Parade, if not the Pride Parade. It draws in all kinds of people. You don't have to be part of the LGBTQ XYZ alphabet to join the Pride Parade. Anyone and everyone is welcome to join, and it's a lot of fun. And one time, this is actually a true story. I said I was going to make it up, but I'm actually being truthful now. One time, I was actually walking past the Pride Parade, walking alongside of it because I was trying to take the subway back from Union Square back to Brooklyn. And I couldn't get to Union Square because I was west of it. I think I was I was somewhere in Chelsea or something like that, seeing the show. And so then when I was trying to get to any subway that would take me back to Brooklyn, I couldn't because they had barricaded so much of the streets for the Pride Parade. And there was literally just an endless line of people, things like that. Oh, there they go partying right now. What's up, guys? Everybody wave. Everybody do your best wave. I'm a terrible dancer myself, so I'm going to leave it to my guests. Anybody that's dance moves for Pride, celebrate together. And that's a great thing. There's no judgment in Pride, but definitely check out Pride if you're in or out of town, and definitely make sure you support all the friends and family that we have that will inevitably go to Pride. Hope you guys enjoy.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jason. All right, judges, get your questions ready. We are going to start this time with Mr. Simonetti.
So much fun. Pride is a big part of New York. Couple things. The early 1900s was not when the Pride began. It was actually 1969. The early 1900s, they hated gays, yes. We still had places to go. But in 1969, though, is when it happened. It was a 5-day riot, is what it was actually.
Okay.
Right, it was a 5-day riot from June 28th through July 3rd, but you were right, at the Stonewall Bar, which is still there. Last year was the 50th anniversary of it, too, which was pretty cool. So that brought in about 1 million people is what it did. We were what was called World Pride, which was pretty cool. My favorite thing from it, I loved your story, by the way. My favorite story was I was walking, not even thinking to go to Pride, actually, for the day. And this little girl saw the rainbows and everything, like you said, and said, "Mommy, let's go to the Rainbow Parade." So that's what my friends and I started calling it, the Rainbow Parade, as we kept going. So thank you very, very much, though, for that wonderful story. That was great. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the corrections. Appreciate it. I can mix up the history.
You know who passed away the night before the Stonewall Riots happened?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who passed away before the night of the Stonewall Riots happened?
I remember learning about this in class, but like back in college, but I can't remember the person's name.
Where over the rainbow, clang, clang, clang went the trolley, ding, ding, ding went the... Wow, he really is straight, isn't he? Isn't he? Jeez.
I am.
Oh my gosh. You don't even know who sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, do you know?
Originally, I don't know. I'm terrible with my Broadway history.
She was never on Broadway, but that's okay. A full show. Let's see, what else would you maybe know her from? Oh my, oh wow.
Was it Barbra Streisand?
No, not Barbra Streisand.
No.
She's still alive with her mall underneath her place. It's Judy Garland. You might know her as...
Oh, yes, of course.
Judy Garland, yeah.
One of my best friends is showing me all of her movies, and I'm just seeing so much movies at once, and I love all of them. I just can't keep track of the names, both from contemporary and historical artists of all genres. I'm just taking it all in, and so yeah.
Well, you're welcome, and welcome to Gay History 101.
Thank you. I need to learn more.
Thank you. All right, next up, Miss Julie.
Hello. So is this event free? Can I just kind of show up and go if I want to?
Yes, I believe you can just join at any point in time. To get on a float, that might be a different story, but to just march with everybody and join the fun, it's absolutely free. And in fact, I think that people will pay you with kindness and love and celebration if you would like to join.
Great. I heard Lady Gaga.
Make sure to decorate and dance and wear your funnest outfits as well.
We'll do that the next time it's allowed, I guess.
Thank you, Julie. And last but certainly not least, Miss Dara.
All right. Jason, where are you from and what is Pride like there? Are you from a big city or a small town? What is Pride like in your hometown?
That's a great question. So I grew up in Delaware, which is kind of like a purple state. Like it's a very small state, but traditionally it's been very like split down the line. Like we would have one Republican senator and one Democratic senator, and people are really kind of on the fence. And when I was growing up, there was a couple of people that were openly gay, but it wasn't necessarily something that I feel like people embraced the way that New York City does. And I'm much happier to be in a place like New York City that does embrace things a lot more. So growing up, I didn't have any real background about the history of it. And it wasn't until much later in life that I found out that my cousin came out and also my sister. And, you know, we still love everybody just the same. And it was just something that I never really knew much about growing up. But then once I got into theater, I started making a lot of new friends. That's both in and out of New York City. And then I started learning more and more about it. And I'm absolutely a terrible dancer, but at the same time, like I've never felt more welcome than in a pride parade. Like I had one at the University of Delaware where I went to college. And when things open back up, I have so many friends now from theater and whatnot. Some are gay, some are bi, some are trans, some are, who knows. They're figuring it out still, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
I want to join everybody, go to Pride, and it's definitely going to be a good time.
Word. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Fantastic. Thank you, judges, and thank you, Jason. I need my judges to go ahead and make their tabulations for Jason right now. And Dara, if we can also just kind of see if we can help figure out a winner. But I'm going to go ahead and use this moment to talk about a couple things. Thank you, Tom, for mentioning that Pride began as a series of riots that happened over 5 nights in New York City. I think that's really timely to mention right now because we are actually experiencing some rioting in New York City for a different minority group, the Black Lives Matter movement, due to the death of George Floyd. Did I get that right, George? I'm awful. George Floyd, oh my goodness. Floyd. And the reason I'm confused is because there have been so many senseless deaths of Black Americans that it's kind of hard to keep track. So as we celebrate Pride, and it has become a party and a parade and Lady Gaga and RuPaul's Drag Race, it began very similar to what's happening in New York now. And I think it's very important to remember that. And as a member of the LGBT community, to say that silence does equal death, and we stand with you and everything that's going on right now. New York loves a good protest, loves a good riot, loves a good social movement. We're famous for them, and this is just another awesome moment in the history of New York. Now, I also want to say, I was hoping to get this Pride picture in there somewhere, so I was glad that we got to change it for Jason, because I was really hoping that we could somehow manufacture a tie, because even though next week is the Battle Royale, where we'll see the winners of our first 3 episodes compete for the title of the best tour guide in New York City, in 2 weeks, we will be hosting a Pride edition of the show. It is a one-off episode where every single participant is a member somewhere in the LGBTQ plus alphabet soup that is our community. And I will be there. However, I won't be judging because even though I like to think I'm fierce and fabulous, I'm pretty boring. So we have a much more fabulous host for the episode, but I will be judging that day. And I will be my cause as the guy who might look a little bit like Tintin, but is pretty boring when it comes to representing my community. So Dara, have we determined? All right, I am going to take a look, ladies and gentlemen, and oh my
Let me know if that makes sense. It's close, right?
This is extremely close.
Yeah.
In fact, I think, even though I know we started late, I think we should do a sudden death round. How do you feel?
I'm so down.
Okay, so
torture.
I'm going to do a sudden, I mean, it is less than a point that divides the two of you. And so there is going to be a sudden death round. We are going to keep on the last theme. You both will get the same picture and you will only have 1 minute to talk about it, okay? Now, I know that this one's going to be hard for the both of you. And I won't be using the Mermaid Parade as an example this time. So I am going to pull up this very difficult image. It is an event that happens every summer in New York City, in particular in June. We are going to start with Missy. You each get the same image, and this is your chance to sway the judges either way, okay? Missy, are you ready?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not telling you the name of this event, but I will tell you where it takes place. Sudden death round to determine the winner of episode 3 of So You Think You Can Tour Guide, the New York edition. Here we go. And Missy, this is your image. Now, Jason, you also get to take a look right now. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. This event takes place every June on Governor's Island. Missy, are you ready? All right, exactly.
Sure. Yes, I am ready. I am ready.
The clock, and here we go.
All right, so this is a fabulous event that happens on Governor's Island. Governor's Island, if you are unaware, is that little island that you see if you're traveling on the Staten Island ferry. It's that little island to the left if you're going from Manhattan to Staten Island. It's a fabulous dance event, a great throwback to an era that we don't always celebrate. People put on their finest clothes and some fabulous shoes, and they jam out to some live music. And it attracts people of all ages and all demographics. And you better practice your dancing before you go. Governor's Island is, you can get there from a much smaller ferry than the Staten Island ferry. And I can't see my time clock anymore, but I'm just going to close this up with any event that has people dancing in the streets is a winner for me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Missy. Now, do you happen to know the name of this event?
No idea.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, you might be able to sneak a win in here real quick based on what you are able to relay about this image. So I'm going to bring it up one final time. Judges, again, you can change your scores based on how Missy and Jason relay this information. Now, Jason, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, here we go. And 3, 2, 1.
All right, so if you guys are coming into town with your families, I highly recommend checking out this event going on at Governor's Island. Bring your finest old clothes from like the 1920s, maybe a little silly hat along the way or something like that. Get everybody dressed up. It's fun for the kids, you know, have them dance around and stuff like that. And this is a great spot for a date night. Governor's Island is absolutely gorgeous. And aside from this event, you got some attractions over there, like the smallpox hospital, where people were quarantined. So there's a lot of ghosts there if you get tired of dancing. But I definitely recommend checking out this awesome event that attracts all kinds of people. Everybody hear that tune right there? That's from, I heard it on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel when yours truly was a background actor on that wonderful show. And we actually danced this exact same dance. I was just kind of standing there with the cocktail and the Catskills scene, but all the actual dancers that they hired for the show were dancing the same dance that you'll see at the event. Who knows? Maybe you'll see some of the actors there. I can tell you that if you see Tony Shalhoub, he's not going to talk to you because he's in character. But
fantastic. Well, thank you, Jason. Now I will ask you just like I asked Missy. Do you know the name of this event?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Tom, because you raised your hand, go ahead and tell the group, what is this event called?
Oh, sorry, I was just doing the Charleston. But it's actually called the 1920s Jazz Age Lawn Party is what it's called.
Okay.
It's been going on since I moved there. It usually would be once a week is what it would be if I'm correct on a Sunday, once out of the year. And then now it's just became an every month kind of thing, right, over the summer. It's so much fun. I have won a Charleston competition there as well too, and I might have been on the sauce as well and a little bit drowsy, but I got it. So thank you both for your wonderful thing there. It is Governor's Island. A lot of people don't go there, but for whatever reason, but there's a lot of concerts that go on there. Pride, actually, they do a big thing there now too as well, so it's really neat. So good. And yes, Missy is correct. You could see it while you're going by, which is really neat. There is a round, if you look at it, there is a round, we ask questions, right, of them?
No, but you can just finish, that's fine.
Okay, there's a round kind of like building on it that looks really old. Does anyone know what that is or what that would have been?
Building.
Well, we're all awful tour guides, so just kidding. Just kidding. All right, judges, if this swayed your scores in any way, I don't know exactly how that's going to work on the scoring sheet. I didn't figure out that part, but let me take a look to see.
No, wait. Did everybody, I just scored like I did the other ones. So it looks like Tom did that as well. Julie, I need.
Just give me a sec to do the other one.
All right, well, we are figuring out these final scores, and at which point we will go ahead and announce the winner of week 3 and our contestant that will be coming back again next weekend. I hope you're available to compete for the title of Top Tour Guide in New York City. But not only do you get to go to the next round, you also win a fantastic magical mystery prize that I will present as soon as we have a winner. Now, because I'm vamping a little bit, in about 2 hours, I will be doing a different stream, not an experience first, called The Dudes Who Get Drunk, where me and my college roommate are going to be drinking a lot over the next 2 hours and then talking about Jesus Christ Superstar. So if you want to see two former college roommates absolutely shit-faced talking about Broadway, find us on Facebook and tune in at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, are we? No, not yet.
I'm not 100% sure if we're done here. Did you both score for both people? Because I'm not seeing everybody's.
I did both.
Okay. It looks like you did both, Simonetti.
Ready.
Tom? He's getting there. Cool. So just, yeah, I wonder if I can vamp. It's not really my strong suit. Lies.
Bobby,
Okay.
did you like the recent?
Oh, I
Jason
looked-
All right.
Superstar?
I did
I
mention
think-
I'm not hosting the Pride Edition. It's actually going to be hosted by one of our very own Experience First, Glenn North, who is now kind of a little bit famous because of his new Bravo TV show, Camp Getaway, which he is the gay camp counselor. So we are very excited to have him. He has led our LGBT Pride Tour for the last several years. When I wrote it several years ago, he was one of the first people I trained to give it. And we're very excited to have him host the Pride Edition of So You Think You Can Tour Guide. Now, I believe we have a winner. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy.
Just highlighted. The scores.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was close, and the sudden death Brown has given us a clear winner. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to find out the winner of week 3? Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for a contestant named Jason.
Oh wow!
Jason, only you get to compete in next week's Battle Royale. You also get to win this very special prize that I'm about to show you. Now, this t-shirt will be sent to you by mail. So please connect with Dara after the broadcast finishes to make sure that she has your correct address and she can get this prize to you as soon as possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our judges and our contestants. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Missy, for joining us. And of course, thank you, Julie, Tara, and Tom. Have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.